Good afternoon again, Lake County. This is Dick Barr with Unlocking Lake County. I want to welcome you back to the beautiful downtown Round Lake Beach studios of WRLR 98.3, The Life FM. I'm joined again by my lovely co-host, Kristen Kaufman. Say hello, Kristen.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kristen Kaufman. Happy to be here.
And we have a special guest in the studio today, a good friend of ours and one of our lender partners, Sly Marinka of the Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage. Hi, Sly.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I know you're really busy right now with the spring market heating up. We've talked about this, that you're getting a slew of applications now. So I want to thank you for taking the time out to be here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
For those of you who are new to the show, I'm going to lower my mic a little bit. I think I'm pinning, I'm probably blowing the eardrums out of people driving down the street. For those new to the show, Unlocking Lake County, this is a show where we talk about everything community, everything policy, everything real estate, working with professionals and supporting local businesses. And we try to create an environment where people feel free and comfortable to ask questions. And last week we did a wonderful Q&A spot, and that inspired I think we got 24 questions that people emailed us.
Yeah, something like that.
So that was awesome. Thanks for sending those questions in. And yes, send them. Send any question you have, and we'll do our best to answer it. You can email us at DB, those are my initials, DB for Dick Barr, DB@dickbarr.com, and Barr has 2 R's. Send us your questions, and later on in the show, we have a segment where we go through and we answer them. And some of our answers, I think they're actually right.
Wouldn't you know it?
Yeah. Not all of them, and some of them were funny too.
At least funny by our standards.
I know. I got a laugh out of you. That's the beauty of being on radio. You don't have to hear the groans and moans from the listeners. You just know that they never listened again. Anyway, so welcome to the show. Today is Wednesday, and we're on. Oh, the other thing we learned last week, Kristen, that 1 hour is just not enough time.
It's not when you've got two talkative people.
Exactly.
Talking about something they love.
It's funny. When I was a kid, I didn't talk till I was like 5. My parents were worried.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was nonverbal till I was about 5.
Wow. And
my parents took me to specialists. They did everything they could to get me to start talking. And then once I turned 5, I got to a level where I just didn't shut up.
Sure.
And my folks always told me that until I was about 8, I thought my name was Richie Shut Up. Anyway, so we're going to hit the first segment of the hour. So anyway, the whole point of that story was talking about that we are now transitioning to a 2-hour show.
Yes, we are.
There's just way too much to talk about. There's way too many awesome businesses in the area. There's way too many cool people. And there's a lot of news to report. And all the news is going to be helpful. Well, at least some of it. Anyway, so we're going to jump right into the Market Minute, where we go over the cross section of Northwest Lake County. We talk about what areas are moving, what properties are selling, what properties are not selling, how long properties are staying on the market, to give our listeners a good idea of the current flow. As everyone knows, we're in a solid seller's market still. And usually a seller's market's identified by a lot of buyers. But that's not the case really right now. It's the amount of buyers is just more than the amount of sellers. And so what I mean by that, it's not like we don't have a lot of buyers. Yes, when we put a listing up there, we're getting anywhere between 10 to 20 showings right off the bat.
Easily.
5 to 10 offers easily. But we have such low inventory, historically low inventory. It's never been lower. And there's a lot of reasons people are predicting as to why that is. And we'll get to that later in the show. But right now, sellers are sitting on the sidelines and there's very little to buy. So when something pops up there,
Ooh,
it's crazy.
it is.
Sly, you see this too, right?
Absolutely. Multiple offers on, properties. I have clients that I'm pre-approving that are literally bidding against each other on the same properties. That's how few there are.
Wow. Now, how did that's tricky.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily know the offer going in.
I don't.
Yeah.
No,
I think that's a little trickier for us as agents.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just pre-approve them, and then I find out, later that they're all that they're bidding on the same home when they ask me to send them the estimated payment and I see the address. I'm like, oh shoot, somebody else is also looking at that one. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of that right now.
And Kristen, you bring up a good point. I don't recommend ever representing multiple buyers on the same transaction because that there's a little bit of a conflict there. Have you ever done that?
Me personally, no, I have not. And thankfully, I work with a team of people that I trust to be able to refer someone out in a scenario like that. It's really difficult to represent each of your buyer's best interests if their interests are conflicting against each other.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I had a listing that we went live on just about 2 weeks ago, and an agent had contacted me, asked to show the property, and a day later, she said she had another client interested in the same property, and both of her buyers were interested in making an offer, and she told me that she would be kind of towing the line on this negotiation. Now, as it turned out, luckily the second buyer never came through, so she wasn't in that situation. But I think you're headed down the road to trouble when you're representing two buyers on the same transaction, because how can you give advice on what you need to do to be the best offer and represent both of those parties at the same time? Now, I mean, technically it's allowed. It has to be disclosed.
Mm-hmm.
There's a form for it where there's a disclosed representation of two buyers on the same transaction, which is different than dual agency, where one agent might represent both the seller and the buyer, which is also a disclosable
It's a different
conflict.
kind of tricky.
Correct. It's a different kind of tricky. But I think it carries the same ramifications and potential consequence.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm only going to head into the market minute. And first, how we do this is first I'm going to talk about all of Northwest Lake County as a whole, kind of let you know how many are active, how many are new this week versus last week, how many have gone under contract in the past 7 days, past 30 days, and then compare that with the data from last year. We'll also talk about inventory. So how many days are properties sitting on the market, and then what is our current month supply? And then we'll talk about whether pricing margins are between the lowest, highest, and median in all these communities. So we're going to get started right away. And first, on to all of Northwest Lake County as a whole. We're currently sitting at only 114 active listings. 17 are new this week. And that's compared to last week where we had 41. 41 new listings last week, only 17 this week, which is a drop by about almost 60%. Under contract in the past 7 days, we've had 38, which is about the same as last week where there were 40. And under contract in the past 30 days, we've had 144, which is a tick up by about 40% from last month where we only had 100. That's a big jump. It's a 40% increase in properties going under contract. Partly because we're starting to see those buyers come back to market.
Mm-hmm.
When October hit, things really took a softening blow. Things were sitting on the market longer. Properties weren't selling for the same premiums that they were throughout the summer and early fall. But now we're starting to see that excitement come back into the market. Now, compared to last year, where we had 144 in the past 30 days, that's up slightly by about 20% over last year, where we had 120 over the same time period. And here's the interesting part. The days on market for the whole Northwest Lake County is only 31 days is the average. Mm-hmm. And, you go back to the days, you remember the 2008 days, Sly, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
2008, where it was common to have a property on the market for 180 days, 270 days.
Oh
In
my
fact, some
goodness.
properties sat on the market for years with the same agent, but nothing was selling. You couldn't drop the price fast enough to get a buyer. Although all of us are looking at that now and wishing we picked up all the property we could,
Yeah.
where the prices are.
Mhm.
And the month supply of inventory for Northwest Lake County is less than 1 month. So for those of you that don't know, what is a month supply of inventory? Month supply of inventory takes into account how fast properties are selling, and it's divided against the number of active listings, and it tells you if no new properties get added to the market, how long will it take to sell them all? Less than 1 month. Now, a typical seller's market is technically is between 1 to 6 months. But realistically, a seller's market, you say, is solidly 1 to 3 months, and then a softer seller's market, 3 to 6 months. Doesn't get into buyer's market territory until your month supply of inventory gets over 6 months, and we're nowhere near that. So if you're thinking about buying this season, start thinking now, because the properties are selling really fast. In all of Northwest Lake County, our lowest price sold was $68,000. Highest price sold is $1.8 million, thanks to a beautiful listing in Antioch. And the highest active property right now on the market, $2.9 million. And that was also in Antioch. The nice thing about Lake County's got such a wide diversity of different types of product, especially we've got some of the most beautiful lake homes in the area. So when you see these big numbers, guaranteed those are going to be on the chain somewhere. Antioch. Antioch represents a third of all of the active listings in Lake County right now.
Wow.
35 active listings in Antioch, but only 1 new this week compared to 7 new last week, a drop of about 86%. Under contract in the past week, only 4, down from 8 the prior week. So they actually went down quite a bit. And the this month, the last 30 days under contract was 19 compared to 16 last month, a slight uptick, and compared to last year at the same time, 22. So we're hovering about the same rate. Days on market here, though, interesting in Antioch, 57 days on market average. Compared to the whole area of Northwest Lake County is only 31. So Antioch homes are sitting on the market just a little bit longer, and I think it's a outcome of having such a large supply of inventory. But the month supply of inventory is only 1.8, so still good, about double the region, but still under 2 months supply of inventory. Lowest price in Antioch, a bargain at $70,000. If you see something available to buy for $70,000 anywhere here, you buy it. I don't care what it is. It might be an outhouse. You're still going to buy it. Highest sold property in Antioch was $1.8 million. Highest active price is also the highest in the region, $2.9 million. But the median price, very affordable, $355,000. Last week, we took Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside separately, and we talked about them. But between the 3 of them, some of them have 0 new listings all the time, so we combine them into one area. So this week, we're going to combine Volo, Fox Lake, and Ingleside into one talking point. And we've got 11 active listings and 2 new this week compared to 5 last week. Under contract in the past 7 days was 8 versus 4 last week. So they doubled their contracts this past week. This month, 16 homes under contract compared to last year where there was only 12. So again, they're popping up. Days on market in those 3 areas is only 37 days with a month supply of inventory at 0.7. Lowest price, $75,000. Highest price, $675,000. And the highest active, about $1.7 million. And they have the lowest median price at $233,000. Now we'll get over to Grays Lake, Gages Lake, Haynesville, Third Lake, and Wildwood, where they've got 22 active listings currently, 5 new listings this week, a drop of about half from last week where there was 9. And we've got 4 under contract this week compared to 9 the prior week. 29 homes under contract this past month compared to only 9 the month prior. Huge increase, 3 times. And last year at this time, they were at 21. So trekking pretty well with last year. Increase of about actually 89%. Now that's actually pretty good. 30 days on market is the average with a month supply of inventory of 0.8. Lowest price, 123,000. Highest price, 492,000. And the highest active in Grace Lake at 1.5 million. Now heading over to Gurnee, where there's they actually have the lowest inventory right now. Only 8 houses on the market. And Gurnee's a pretty big area. So that's a real low number for Gurnee. No new listings this week in Gurnee. That's
Wow.
surprising. That they're putting up Volo numbers there. And but they had 6 new listings last week. So obviously 100% drop in new listing activity. This week under contract is 5 compared to last week, only 3. And the past 30 days, they had 20 under contract, and that was compared to 19 the prior. So trekking was last month, and slight uptick, actually a significant uptick from last year when they had only 14. Now headed over to Lindenhurst and Lake. Days on market for Gurnee, 40 days. So getting a little bit slower, which is interesting. Days on market 40. They with such a low inventory. That's actually kind of surprising. I would actually check my numbers there, make sure my math's correct. But a half a month supply of inventory, obviously with only 8 on the market. Lowest price was 155,000 with highest price of 525,000 and a highest active price of 635,000. Now over to Lindenhurst and Lake Villa, where we had 14 active listings, 2 new this week compared to 6 last week, 8 under contract this week compared to 5 last week, 26 under contract this month compared to 20 last month, and then 18 the month before. So those numbers are rock solid. They're very consistent, obviously, in their real estate community. And then days on market. Get this, only 15 days average market time. That's because we listed the most of them. And the month supply of inventory hovering at only a half a month. That means if we add no new listings, we'll be sold out in Lakeville and Lindenhurst in half a month. Lowest price, 68,000. Highest price, 423,000. And the highest active at 1.2 million. I wish we had that listing. The Round Lake area, 15 active currently on the market, 6 new listings this week, same as last week, which was 6. This week under contract, there was 9, slight uptick from 7 the prior week, 27 under contract in the past 30 days compared to last month at 23, and compared to last year, slight down from 32. Days on market's only 24 days, and a month supply of inventory of 0.6. Pricing range from 85 to 425,000. And that's it for the market min. I went a little bit over. I know we started a little bit late and I went a little bit over, but that's okay because the next segment we're going to talk about is the 9/11 consolidation. So here's a community interest thing I do want to talk about because it does have to do with one of the things we talk about a lot on the show, which is property taxes. Mm-hmm. You familiar with the 9/11 consolidation, Sly?
I am not.
Okay. Kristen?
Yes.
Yes, of course. We talked about it. For those of you who don't know, prior to now, actually, it hasn't gone into effect yet. All of the local communities, they have a varying hodgepodge of 9/11 dispatch centers, where when you pick up the phone and you call 911, where does that go? The Round Lake has one. I think Fox Lake has one. The sheriff has one. There's a few different silos where they receive these calls and dispatch the police. So due to a law that went into effect last year, those 9/11 dispatch centers have to consolidate. And so the county approved the building of a new dispatch center and consolidating all of the local 9/11s into the one dispatch center. And the idea behind it was to, right now, if you call, let's say we're here and you pick up the phone, you call 911 from your cell phone and you get your 911 dispatcher and she doesn't know exactly where you are because they triangulate you. They figure out approximately where you are. But maybe you're driving down the road and you say, well, I'm driving across Rollins and Cedar Lake. She goes, oh, well, that's not our area. So she'll transfer you to the right. So she'll transfer you to the dispatch center that handles that that particular area.
I'm just imagining being the person calling in the middle of an emergency
Yeah.
and then being told, let me transfer you real quick.
That literally just happened to me a month ago where I saw a car accident
No.
on the highway and I called 911 and they had to, I literally watched a truck flip over, hit a patch of dry ice and flip over. And I called 911 and they passed me around a few times before they got the right location.
Oh my
So
goodness.
Wow.
firsthand knowledge of that. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it was
every
scary.
second counts in those situations. You're
yeah.
not calling for fun.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you're having a heart attack, please hold.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Seriously.
So I mean,
So the intentions are good.
the intentions are 100% good. In fact, it's the right thing to do. It's going to speed up response times. Now, some of the localities might lose some of that local knowledge. So I know if I were to call 911 from here right now,
Mhm.
I know most of the people in the 911 dispatch center.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're a great bunch. And they a lot of them, well, some of them maybe know me.
Mhm.
And if I say at Sammy's in Round Lake Beach, they
Mhm.
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If I say at the Civic Center, they know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
So they don't have to figure that part out. So that's what you get from local representation. And then if you were to go to one central county, there's no way those dispatchers are going to be able to know all those little minutia details about all the surrounding communities.
Sure. And they can't be expected to.
Nor could they be expected to. No, absolutely. I know I wouldn't.
Oh,
I don't even
goodness.
know where all the locations in our area are. So anyway, they've last July they broke ground on building this building, which is going to house all of the different dispatchers, and it's also going to include some safety precautions. Like the building has to be built to a certain specification, so it can't be blown up by a bomb or something.
Sure.
Now, I think the cost was about $39 million.
Ooh.
And the county board approved this quite a while ago. The sheriff's been working on it, and there's a lot of different stakeholders working together to bring this all together. But just a couple months ago, the Lake County sheriff backed out.
Oh.
He said, I don't want to participate in the county's consolidation. And when he sent out a letter that I received last week explaining to the board why he's backing out, and it's not good. And I don't blame him. He, according to the sheriff, he's been telling them for a while, is telling the county board for a while that the plan that they're going forward with doesn't solve all his problems, and it makes it almost impossible for them to work with. And he's not the only one. The city of Waukegan also backed out about a month ago from the consolidation plan.
Mhm.
And when you're spending $39 million, how do you not effectively communicate with probably the largest law enforcement entity in the county, the sheriffs?
Hmm.
Yeah.
They're responsible for law enforcement all over Lake County, and I got to imagine they probably responsible for the dispatching of a majority of the calls. I could be wrong. I don't know, but I think the sheriff probably is solely responsible for the dispatch of the most amount of emergency calls. And that's for everywhere from, criminal issues to emergency issues to fire issues, right?
Well, and they cover a lot of the unincorporated calls that come in as well, correct?
Yeah. So the sheriff is specifically 100% the unincorporated areas, but they also do services for a lot of villages where they're hired to. There's a intergovernmental agreement for them to come in and do support for. But $39 million, and the sheriff's complaint is that they've not listened to anything that he has to provide for what they need for this to be effective. Here's a specific quote from, I'm not going to mention names. There was a name mentioned in the letter, but if anyone wants to know who he's specifically calling out, and I'll tell you why I'm not going to mention the name after I'm done. Mr. Blank had the duty and obligation to keep you informed. This is his letter to the county board. Had the duty and obligation to keep you informed. His role has been to keep you in the loop on the actual facts and this includes potential hurdles or challenges this project is facing. The mistake I made throughout this process was trusting him to relay accurate information about the ongoing concerns of the sheriff's office to the entire Lake County Board. Clearly, our concerns have not been expressed to this board, Eidelberg said to the county board members in his letter. So I'm going to tell you why I'm not dropping that name. As you guys both know, I've got a little bit of history in politics and in government, having sat on that board. And I know codes, and the codes when you want to call out another elected official, but maybe they're in the same party, so you don't want them to really look that bad. So you blame it on staff. So when he says, clearly he hasn't relayed this to you, I happen to know the person he's talking about, and I know how professional that person is. This guy is military background, super organized, super professional. This guy knows his stuff, and I would find it incredibly hard to believe that he did not relay specific information. I'm more apt to believe that the recipients of the information didn't like the information and chose to ignore that information. But we'll see. This is still playing out, but there's a lot of money on the line. So it's something that when we talk about $39 million, there's a lot that could be done in the county. The county's budget is only about $600 million. So that's, what's that, 5% of the whole budget? So anyway, so I wanted to bring that to the reader's attention that right now there's a question about consolidated 911, and I don't know if that's going to slow it down or not.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, whatever ends up happening from that, I hope that the end result is to better serve our community and to make sure that they are addressed as quickly as possible, right? Because every second counts. But also to alleviate some of the stress from the 911 dispatchers in the first place, right? Because if they're taking a crazy amount of calls because one person called in and they are working in a small operation, I mean, that's taking their already stressful day and magnifying it, right? Because, you know, as real estate agents, like we deal with sensitive topics, right? So we talk to people who are dealing with death. We deal with people who are selling their houses because they are getting divorced. But we also get to talk to people who are having happy changes in their lives, right? So there's a bit of a balance there. And while we are there to be sort of a bucket for our clients to pour their emotions into, a lot of them are good. But the 911 dispatchers, I mean, every single day they're talking to people on is what likely to be the worst day of their lives, right? You're calling 911 because you are in an emergency. And the amount of added stress that adds to each and every phone call, especially when you're taking in way too many calls, I can only imagine how hard that must be for them. So hopefully they find a solution that works out for everybody.
Absolutely. And with that, we're going to take it to a break.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
It's time for real estate trivia. What is the term for a large, luxurious country home? The answer when we return.
This is 98.3 The Life.
The Life. Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Fidelity National Title Insurance Company, offering title insurance and real estate services. With origins tracing back over 150 years, Fidelity National Title facilitates secure closing processes for buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals. Anyone looking for more information can find them on the web at www.fntic.com. Fidelity National Title has offices located all throughout Lake and McHenry counties.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Thought I'd end up with Sean, but it wasn't a match. Wrote some songs about Ricky, now I listen and laugh. Even almost got married. And for Pete, I'm so thankful. Wish I could say thank you to Malcolm, cause he was an angel. One taught me love, one taught me patience, and one taught me pain. Now I'm so amazing to have loved and I've lost. But that's not what I see. So look what I got. Look what you taught me. Yeah, for that I say thank you. Next, thank you. Next, thank you. Next, I'm so grateful for my ex. Thank you. Next, thank you. Next, thank you. Next, I'm so spend more time with my friends. I ain't worried about nothing. Plus I met someone else. We having better discussions. I know they say I move on too fast, but this one gon' last. Cause her name is Aubrey, and I'm so good with that. So good with she taught me love. She taught me patience. And she handles pain. That's amazing. I've loved and I lost, but that's not what I feel. So look what I found. No need for searching. Yeah, all I say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for my ex. Thank you, thank you, thank you, so thank you, next. Yeah, I'm so grateful for my ex. Thank you, next. Thank you, next. Thank you, next. I'm so. One day I walk down the aisle, hold her hands on my mama. I'll be thanking my dad, cause she grew from the drama. Only wanna do it once real bad, gon' make that last. God forbid something happens, at least this song is a smash. I got so much love, got so much patience. Learned from the pain, turned out amazing. Turns out I'm letting overload. That's not what I see. Look what I found. Ain't no need for searching. Give all that I say. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for my ex. Thank you, thank you, thank you, so thank you, next. Yeah, I'm so grateful for my ex. Thank you, next. Thank you, next. Thank you, next. Yeah. Thank you, next. Thank you, next. Thank you, next. Yeah.
Support for Unlocking Lake County is provided by Harder and Shotland Law Firm, offering legal services across various areas, including criminal defense, real estate, family law, and more. Harder and Shotland is committed to addressing the legal needs of individuals and businesses with a focus on thorough and knowledgeable representation. Information on Harder and Shotland Law Firm can be found at hardershotland.com or by visiting their office at 625 West Rollins Road in Round Lake Beach. They can also be reached at 847-546-0022. And now for today's trivia answer. The term used to describe a large, luxurious country home is mansion.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Welcome back, Lake County. We're here for the second half hour of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. In the studio today, I've got Kristen Kaufman and Sly Marinka.
Hello.
And that's how I test the mics. It's not your mic, Kristen. I didn't have it on.
Hello.
There we go. Now everyone can hear you. Okay, so we have a new segment we're going to do. This is every week we're going to do some Mythbusters real estate style. So, Kristen, I'm going to say a myth, and you tell me if it's busted or plausible.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Myth number 1. And I just want to make sure all of our levels are good. Yeah. Okay. Myth number 1. Open houses are the best way to sell a house.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
Imagine
that'd be
all you had to
awesome.
do was just host an open house. Bing, bam, boom, you're done.
Come on, haven't you ever seen HGTV?
I love hosting open houses, actually. They're a lot of fun. It's a great way to just meet people and get a chance to showcase the house that you're listing. But it's actually not going to be the number one way to get your home sold for the best possible price. Open houses can definitely increase exposure, but the majority of home sales are going to come from targeted marketing strategies and matching the right buyer with the right home. That's such an important detail, having the right buyer with the right home. We mentioned earlier how we've got all of these high prices for the Antioch houses and that they're sitting a little bit longer. And that's because they need a specific buyer. Not just anybody's going to be coming in and buying them. So making sure that your house is being marketed to the correct buyer is really going to be a large part of what makes all the difference. But also small details like, not small details, actually pretty important details like professional photography, having some good video footage of your house makes a big difference as well. And making sure that you're finding the right buyers through digital platforms and professional networks is going to be your number one way to do that. But hosting an open house never hurts.
It's funny. They call us people not in the business. They call us salesmen and saleswomen, right? And I find there's like almost no part of our job that has anything to do with sales. Well, there's one part that is technically sales, I think, which is like we have to sell us.
Yeah, we sell ourselves.
We sell ourselves, right?
Maybe our souls a little bit.
But I don't know anyone who sells someone on a house.
You shouldn't be, at least.
Well, you shouldn't be, right? But in Illinois, it's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to explain it for the listeners. In Illinois, the contract isn't really moving forward for at least a week. So after you even get a fully accepted contract, you've got 5 business days where your attorney, your inspector, your parents can come in and for just about any reason besides price, you can cancel that contract. So no matter what you do to sell someone on a particular house, to sell them that house, they can back out. So as soon as they get cold feet, they're out. And it happens, right? So there's almost 0 point in trying to, it's not like a car where, hey, I need to get it off the lot. So as soon as he drives it off the lot, it's his. I don't have to worry about it and it's sold. Our job is really probably 50% marketing, advertising.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of psychology in what we do.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of creativity from, like you talked about, it's, staging and the photography and the video aspects. So it's staying on, and those things are really kind of part of the marketing strategies.
Yes.
So there's very little sales going on in real estate, like you said, besides selling ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the open house, I agree with you. It creates additional exposure. The more exposure a house gets, the better chances it'll sell, because real estate's a numbers game.
Absolutely.
The more people in there, I know, depending on how that market is at any given time, based on how many people see it, I can predict how many people will make offers, and then I can predict what that will be on a finished price. That's why our team, we're so good at predicting what final sales values are. That's why we nail the market, is because we have that experience of those numbers. It's not about selling houses. It's about, actually, if anything, it's about selling dreams more than anything else, I think.
What a quote.
Exactly. Okay.
Wow.
I've talked enough. Let me go on to the next myth. The real estate market always goes up.
Okay. So while real estate tends to appreciate over time, markets actually fluctuate significantly due to economic factors, interest rates, and local supply and demand. I mean, all of that's going to play a much bigger factor than I think people realize.
But, even though I think we could agree that real estate market doesn't always go up, but it always eventually goes up, right?
Yeah.
So my dad always taught me when he's teaching me how to invest in stock market, you've only lost money if you sell. If you don't sell, it's just paper. When you sell it, that's when you lost money. If you're selling on the downturn. But real estate market, I think general has been proven to be the longest term has the longest term effect on personal individual wealth, right? And as a result, so I always tell people the best time to buy is now, even if it goes down. Yes, you will be hurt in the short term. And if you have to leave, that's why we talk about on our strategies with our clients. We want to know, is this the forever home? Is this the 5-year home? Is this, you just need a place to crash until something better comes along in a year?
Mm-hmm.
Because how quick you should be to pull the trigger on that purchase depends on what your long-term strategy is. And if we have to get you out of there in 2 years, chances of us being able to sell and get you out while you still are cash positive is very slim. But if your plan is 5 years, 10 years, then it's a much easier, typically much safer endeavor.
Absolutely. I mean, whenever I do interviews with my home buyers, because I like to figure out what it is that they're actually looking for, one of the questions that I ask them is, what are your personal goals with this purchase? And they're always a little thrown off. But reason being is because a lot of times I tell people, the right time to buy is the right time that you need to buy. You know, they always want to have some sort of like insight on, is it better to do it now or in 6 months from now? And I'm like, well, do you need a house right now? Because then that's going to be the right time for you 6 months from now. If you can't wait, then we got to do this now. And it has so little to do with what is going to be the right time with all the extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Real estate is probably the most personal business there is. It has to do with what makes sense for you, the clients.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next one. I think we got time for one more here before
Sure.
we kind of turn it over to Sly Marinka from the Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage. The best time to buy a home is spring.
Okay. I don't know about that. So market conditions can vary, and the best time to sell depends on various factors, including your local market trends, which is why we're constantly putting them out there for you, economic conditions, and individual circumstances. Like I just said, the best time to buy is when you need to buy. Best time to sell is when you need to sell. Sometimes less competition in an off-peak season can result in a faster sale. It really just, I mean, each sale is so different. So it's really hard to just accept a blanket statement like that is true.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. In fact, a lot of times it's the opposite for me. I think the spring is a great time to sell. I think it's not a great time to buy. And they ask these questions that are really subjective. What does a great time mean?
Yeah.
Does great time mean finding the best houses? Does a great time mean getting the best deals? Does the great time mean having no competition?
Having more options to choose from.
Yeah, which is more important? Time,
Mhm.
money, convenience, like so many factors at play that you can't answer that as a single patent answer. In fact, I think the best time to buy is on Christmas Day. I'm not joking. You'll get the best deals. The past 3 years in a row, we had deals that went under contract on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve, because there were buyers who knew there's no competition on those days.
Sure.
And they made their offers, and sellers, excited because of the holidays, accepted those offers. So those were great times to buy.
Yeah.
And there's really no bad time to buy. I think the question really is, what's the best or worst time to sell? And that one, we're very specific because we've got lots of experience to tell us typically when buyers and sellers come and go from the market. And a lot of times that revolves around summers, it revolves around school calendars. I always tell my seller clients, get on the market before July 15th, because you want to be under contract by then, because that's the last time a buyer who has kids that want to get registered for school can get under contract and foreseeably close in time for the school year to start. Okay, at 12:46, it is Wednesday, February 21st. You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr on 98.3 FM, The Life. And in the studio today, we are lucky. We have one of the best mortgage loan officers I've ever met and I've ever worked with. His name is Sly Marinka of the Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage. Hi, Sly.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for the introduction.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for being here. I can't tell you how much it means to me.
Appreciate that.
I'm going to turn it right over to you, Sly. This is your segment. I want you to tell us everything we could ever know about mortgages in the next 15 minutes.
Well, it sounds good. I'll do my best. So what I have prepared today is I wanted to talk a little bit about the current interest rate trends we are seeing. And it has a lot to do with bigger financial, economic numbers that are coming out, raw data that is being released to show that inflation isn't cooling quite as much as was expected. So, towards the end of last year, there was anticipation of the Fed actually starting to cut interest rates in March, as early as March. And so the markets were kind of anticipating that. And so the longer term mortgage rates started to actually come down. And so we've seen that kind of reverse a little bit. It's about a 50 basis point difference today in the 10-year Treasury yield than it was at the end of December. So the current average 30-year interest rate, according to the Mortgage News Daily, is back up above 7%. So yeah, horrible, right? You tell your parents that, or, people that bought homes in the 80s and they laugh because, they were paying 15% or whatever, but nevertheless, I digress. So rates have crept up a little bit. So, we have some people that are, kind of sitting on the fence and waiting for potentially later on this year. We still do expect at some point the Fed to cut rates, but we just don't know when and how much.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right. So that's the current trend on rates. They are climbing a little bit, so we'll keep an eye on that. But with that said, there are a lot of great programs available, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. We are seeing all kinds of down payment assistance programs popping up. We're seeing all kinds of, Freddie Mac has something called Borrow Smart that's available in Lake County here. And that's up to $4,000 free money, no strings attached for first-time home buyers that qualify. Not all qualify, so it's something we would have to check on. But there are some really, really good programs popping
Free
up.
money. Tell us how free is it?
Well, all you have to do is apply for it. You have to be in their certain target area. There's income limitations. But there is no payback on it. There's no
zero payback
on it. You just have to do a 30-minute course, online course. It's actually over the phone, I should say, with a credit counselor, and that's it.
So 30 minutes to get $4,000.
Correct.
That's $8,000 an hour.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yep.
And is there any requirements for how long you stay in the house?
Not on that program. There is not.
Wow.
There is not. So it's no strings attached. No, they don't put a lien on the property. And again, that's through Freddie Mac direct. So it is a conventional loan. So you have to qualify for a conventional loan for that. But we've really, really had a lot of success helping a lot of first-time home buyers with that program.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I can think of I'm working with a lot of first-time home buyers this year, and I'm thinking about how life-changing that can be for a handful of them. Speaking of all the first-time home buyers that I'm working with, Sly, what advice do you have for first-time home buyers this year? I know they're pretty nervous jumping into the market. There's a lot of discourse surrounding the interest rates and surrounding the concept that millennials will never own a home, going around all over social media. I'm sure you hear it all the time as well.
Sure.
What do you have to say to that? Do you have any advice for first-time home buyers this year?
Yeah, definitely. Again, when like we talked about, when is the right time to buy? And it depends on you. It depends on your living situation. I have people that are paying over $2,000 a month in rent when they could be purchasing a home with very little bit down and paying their own mortgage and building equity. So, I mean, listen, if we could live somewhere for free, everybody would do that.
Of course.
But the reality is, the rental prices are so high that even with the higher rates, at some point, it's going to make sense for you to buy your own home. And with that said, let's say the Fed does cut the rates several times this year and next year and the following year. Hopefully you could take advantage of kind of reducing your monthly payment by refinancing at some point. Obviously, you have to qualify for that. But, let's face it, if your landlord refinances their mortgage, they're not going to give you that savings. They're going to pocket that. They're going to keep your rent the same. So I guess it really just depends on your exact situation. So for a first-time home buyer, the biggest thing is start the process early. It's always, if your lease is up in 60 days, you should have already started getting pre-approved, having your credit checked, doing the thorough debt to income ratio analysis so we can determine exactly how much you qualify for. So you're ready to go. Unfortunately, I've seen it before where people wait and then they don't realize that, this happened or that happened, or they have something affecting their credit, or, they're newly self-employed, or, whatever. And it's too late to address any of that if you're waiting till the last second. That, and the other thing is save. That's the biggest thing. Even though you don't need 20% to put down as a down payment to buy a home, it's just going to make your life that much easier to get approved. If you have the additional reserves, if you have, money for a down payment, it's very competitive. So multiple offers on every property. If I need closing cost assistance and the guy next to me or the gal next to me doesn't, their offer is probably going to get accepted quicker than mine.
Absolutely. And you touched on something great when you were talking about rent prices. I joke, but I'm not really joking when I'm talking to first-time home buyers and they're a little nervous about springboarding into this. I tell them, you're already paying a mortgage. It's just somebody else's.
Right.
And we all kind of chuckle, but it's not a joke. It's true because
Yeah.
You're exactly right. If a landlord refinances, you're not getting that price break.
Right.
Why not give that to yourself? Absolutely. Dick, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I'm just curious to see where do you see rates going this year?
Well, that's a good question. If you would have asked me, 2 months ago, I would have said we would probably, see, end up somewhere in the mid to high fives by the end of this year. I think that's going to be a little bit delayed now.
Let's talk about the rates as they affect the market, because not only is there a buyer effect, but there's also a seller effect.
Yeah.
I think you were talking about one of the biggest causes of our inventory problem has to do directly with interest rates, right?
Yes, sir. So yeah, over, in 2020 when COVID hit, we saw rates tank overnight and they stayed incredibly low through 2020 and 2021. And most home buyers or most homeowners at the time took advantage of that. And they refinanced their, 4 and 5% interest rates down to 2.5%, 3%. And so the buzzword in the industry right now, they're calling that the golden handcuff, is that even though I may hate my house or I don't want to live next to the neighbors I live next to
Or
or
it's not suiting your
whatever,
needs anymore.
right? I'm not going to move because I'm not going to give my 2.5% rate up when rates are 7.5% now.
Sure.
So that's part of what we're seeing causing this huge lack of inventory is people that are locked in at such low rates not wanting to leave and take on the new rates.
What advice do you have for people stuck in that situation right now? Do you think that they are right for holding on to their golden handcuffs right now? Or do you think that they're justified in that fear of jumping back in?
Yeah, so I think the longer the rates stay higher, the less it's just going to become the norm. That look, rates may never get back down to 2.5%. So do you really want to die in the house that you're miserable in, that you hate? Probably not. So I think at some point, a lot of those people are gonna, start to realize that, hey, it is what it is. I hate where I live. Time to move on. Or if you have that next child and you need the next bedroom, I mean, at what point do you say,
Yeah,
let's make a
we're
move?
starting to see that from the buyers now. We're actually starting to see that age in place mentality, actually anticipating that they might have to spend longer. Used to be houses turned over every 8 years and people would be move up buyers. Most of our clientele, they would buy their first home as a fixer upper typically, and then go up to something nicer, and then something nicer, and then they retire to a ranch, and then they move to Florida, right?
Sure.
But now we're actually starting to see buyers looking for anticipating the retirement in homes, and some of those are 20, 30 years away from retirement. They're starting to try to identify houses where they can age in place because of the commitment is so long. I mean, look at what it costs the average home buyer over the course of the loan to buy let's say a $400,000 house at the 2.9% versus 7.5%. It's
huge amount of interest.
It's like twice, it's
More
2
than
to 3
twice, yeah.
times as much
Sure.
money.
Sure.
And it almost seems unsustainable, but the one advantage we have here in Illinois is if you look nationally, other areas of the country have strong peaks, strong valleys, deep valleys on their pricing. Even back in 2008 when we had the crash, yes, we had a 50% correction for the most part, especially as you got closer towards the city of Chicago. But other areas were devastated. Other areas of the like look at condo housing in Miami,
Mhm.
80% drop in values. So Illinois, we've actually been kind of a modestly appreciating real estate market over the past decades. And as a result, so even though prices seem expensive to us, people moving here from New York, California, they're like, wow, I can have a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath, full finished walkout basement with a pool on a half an acre for less than $2 million.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, so
10 minutes from a lake anywhere you are here.
Yeah.
right. And sometimes in your basement.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
From a comparative analysis, buyers coming in, and that's where most buyers are coming from. They're coming in, either coming in from Chicago, where they're already paying too much,
Mhm.
and the type of quality and housing available for relatively inexpensive compared to some of these other communities in other states is we're still a bargain.
Absolutely.
So the high rates doesn't mean no buyers, and it never will mean no buyers. It'll just mean less inventory, which is going to drive prices up, even though it's more expensive.
And Sly, just to surmise what I'm getting from what you're saying is kind of reflecting the same thing that I said earlier, which is the right time for you is just going to be the right time for you.
Absolutely.
Do we have time for one more question, Dick?
No.
Okay, just kidding.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Are you going to stick around?
Sure. I'll stick
It
around.
was fun having you.
fantastic.
I'd love for you to stick around.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we are going to take it for one more commercial break, and we'll be back.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
It's time for real estate trivia.
What type of property includes multiple housing units in one building? The answer when we return.
You just wanna know.
98.3. The Life.
More of the music you love.
Online in Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, don't say it 'cause I know I'm cute. Oh, baby. Louis down to my drawers, LV all on my shoes. Oh, baby. I be dripping so much sauce, got a bin looking like Grey Goo. Oh, baby. Lit up like a crystal ball, that's cool, baby, so is you. That's how I roll. If I'm shining, everybody gonna shine. Yeah, I'm gold. I was born like this, don't even gotta try. Now you know. I like shot a nigga better over time. Now you know. They just say I'm not the baddest bitch, you lie. It ain't my fault that I'm out here getting loose. Gotta blame it on the goose. Gotta blame it on my juice, baby. It ain't my fault that I'm out here making news. I'm the put it in the proof. Gotta blame it on my juice. Yeah, 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 yeah. Blame it on my juice. Blame it on my juice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Blame it on my juice. Blame it on my juice, baby. No, I'm not a...
The Google Fi wireless subscriber you have called is not available. Please leave a message after the tone.
How do you say yes to a 1 o'clock call and don't answer at 1 o'clock? Yeah. Yeah. Dude, we're running out of time. You got to answer this call. Tax and accounting guy.
The Google Fi wireless subscriber you have called is not available.
I can't. That's not stressful. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Welcome back. This is Dick Barr with Unlocking Lake County. Is that coming through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm not hearing it for some reason.
Oh.
Oh, I know why. I got my headphones down. I was trying to get a call connected. We had a guest doing a call in, but he wasn't answering. So I spent the entire break trying to get him to answer, and he just kept saying it's not ringing. But he knew I was calling, so I don't. So I
That's
got
okay.
me
We get more time to talk to Sly.
exactly.
I
And
asked
that's
if we
actually
had
kind
time
of
for more
exciting.
questions, and you know what? The universe said, actually, we do have time for more questions.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm gonna, guys, just kind of turn this back over to you. I know, Sly, you had more stuff to talk. Kristen,
Sure.
take this over, and I'm gonna get some stuff done on that I've gotta get caught up for the last half hour.
Absolutely. So, Sly, another we were talking about myths earlier. For anyone who's just tuning in, one of the myths that I want to talk about, because again, I'm focusing a lot of my time on first-time home buyers this year, and so many of them think that you have to have a 20% down payment in order to get a loan, and you and I know that that's just absolutely not true. So, what do you have to say to first-time home buyers who think that you have to have a 20% down payment?
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a myth. There are so many programs available that require less than 20% down. I mean, even conventional loans for first-time home buyers, we have conventional loan programs with as little as 3% down.
Wow.
For non-first-time home buyers, it's typically 5% down, 10% down. FHA is a government-insured loan that is 3.5% down. VA loans are no money down. So if you're a qualifying veteran, no money down. So there are so many options now that do not require 20% down. Do not let that hinder you from even thinking about it. Because there's that's just not true.
Absolutely. And,
not
you know,
true.
in fact, I was working with a first time home buyer a couple months back that I had referred to you.
Mhm.
And he had the 20% down payment. He had the cash available. And you had actually advised him not to put the full 20% down. Why is that?
Yeah, so we have currently we have a program with only 15% down and doesn't require PMI. So PMI is the reason why so many people think, oh, I want to put 20% down or I need to. PMI is private mortgage insurance. It's additional monthly charge. It's an insurance policy for the lender in the event of foreclosure.
Mhm.
And so most people don't want that. We have a program, and you typically have to put 20% down to avoid that.
Yep.
All right. We have a program that's 15% down with no PMI. So for that particular buyer, he had mentioned, potentially needing to do some things to the home, buying furniture, things like that. And he was saying it was going to be tight putting the 20% down and still having the money left over to do what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, tell you what, why don't we go down this road and do the 15% down program? And it just would have worked out much better for that particular buyer and not doing the 20%. So he's not stressed out about buying a fridge and a couch and this and that. So
yeah, absolutely. It adds up.
yeah, absolutely. So, so the other part that we were going to talk about that we didn't quite get to is the credit, how important credit is, and how it's very good to get that checked early. There are so many times there are mistakes on credit reports. There are things that should not be on there, and it could really impact your ability to purchase a home. You want to know that early. Again, you don't want to wait until 30 days before you want to start looking at a home.
No, could be trouble.
Yeah. And one of the fears is, and one of the things that people always say is, oh, well, I don't want you to pull my credit because it's going to hurt my credit scores. Can it?
They're so
Yeah,
worried about that.
totally.
Especially the first time home buyers, they're so
Absolutely.
scared of that.
Absolutely. So, so we have a good tool that we can use. It's called a soft credit pull or a soft inquiry.
What is that?
It's basically a not a full credit report, but it just gives us a really good ballpark.
Okay.
It's not Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a consumer based where the scoring is way off and they take very limited information.
Mm-hmm.
This is a credit pull that we do as a lender, but it doesn't count as a formal inquiry.
Okay.
Now, I technically can't give you a real pre-approval, but at least I could give you an idea of where you're at. And so we could start with a soft credit pull, and then down the road move to a hard credit pull when you're more ready. So that absolutely, there's no excuse. You should be doing that right away if you're thinking about purchasing a home within the next year. And we could at least tell you, hey, here's where you're at right now. Here's what the soft credit pull says. When you look to buy a house in September, come July, we could do the formal one. I could give you pointers, pay this down, pay that off, but do this, do that. So it's really important to kind of get that done early so that you're not waiting to the last second and wondering, where am I going to be? What's my credit? Because credit does impact the interest rate in the program as well. So I would want to try to get the highest credit score I possibly could to get the best possible interest rate.
Hey, Sly, speaking of highest credit score possible,
Yep.
Is there anything that can be done if someone's got, let's say they're just below the credit thresholds? Is there anything that they can do to get them up in the short term?
So absolutely. And that's another thing our system is really good at, where we do rapid rescores is what they're called all the time.
Nice.
So a rapid rescore is in essence my system saying, do this, do that, do the other, send me proof. I take that, I force feed that to the 3 credit bureaus, and they give me a new credit score within 7 days. So I've had it before where somebody's paid off their Capital One credit card. They had a $490 balance on a $500 card. So it was, kind of maxed out on a $500 credit line, and they paid that down or paid that off, and their credit scores improved significantly in a short amount of time.
That's incredible.
I want to respond to that because some people are going to hear this and they're going to say, Sly said I should pay off all my balances and I'm going to get a higher score. So I want to make that clear to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They should not make any of those decisions until they talk to you.
Correct. What's the funny term? It was what, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice.
That's good.
So you never want to do anything until we actually look at your credit report, and our system will tell us how you can maximize it. Don't go pay. People pay off their cars all the time and their credit scores drop, not realizing that an installment loan, once you pay that off, it doesn't impact your scores anymore. It's not like a credit card that stays open or a revolving account. So I've seen it before where people, have great credit and then, they pay off their car and pay off, whatever else, and then their credit score actually drops. So again, we always want to make sure we look at it first, and the system will tell us what to advise you to do.
One of the factors that, I'm sorry, Kristen, one of the factors that they do look at in score is like the age of your credit. So if they wind up getting rid of closing an account that might be, let's say 15, 20 years old, they might have cut off half of their credit history in one fell swoop. Am I wrong?
You are 100% correct. 35% of your credit score is your payment history. So if you have an old account that you've been making payments on time for a long time and that account closes, guess what? You lose that. 30% is the balances, the amount that's owed. So, having revolving accounts that are maxed out, usually those are the ones that, drop your credit scores the most. Then 10% is the mix, the types of credit you have. 15% is your length of credit history. So someone that's just starting with their credit, it's common for us to see that their scores are a little bit lower. And then the new credit is 10% of the mix. So the biggest thing is your payment history and having that on time payments every month.
And this conversation is leading me to another myth that I see a lot. And that is buyers seem to think that they shouldn't be contacting a lender until they're very serious and ready a lot of times they think that that you're supposed to find your house first.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people I've advised to talk to the lender like right away, ASAP. I mean, it's part of my like opening conversation that I have with my clients. Here's the name and number of a couple lenders, or if you want to find one yourself, you feel free to, but you need to talk to someone today. Right now. And a lot of them, they put it off. They think that they don't need to do that or that they shouldn't even do that until they're ready, not realizing that talking to you is what is going to get them ready.
Right. It's a big waste of their time if, and I've seen it before where, people have gotten under contract without ever talking to a lender, assuming that they're good to go. And then, they get referred to us and we talk to them and it's like, you find out that, oops, you don't qualify to buy. How much time and energy have they now wasted?
And heartbreak.
Yeah. And it's like, you fall in love with the house. So it's like, yeah, absolutely. Talk to a lender first. Find a good local lender, not the online ones. Find a good local lender that knows the market, that knows the area, that knows the agents in the area, and get a pre-approval so that, you could confidently go out and look for a home. And once you do find that home and fall in love with it, it's going to get done.
Bingo. And you just nailed it. And not enough people understand this. And nobody really talks about it. A lot of people think they can just go online, get me a pre-approval, and they'll get, I don't want to drop names, but
Schmockage Mortgage.
Schmockage rhymes with Schmockage Mortgage. Great one.
Yeah.
And listen, yeah, they do loans, but they operate out of state. So they're not familiar with customs here in Illinois. They have no idea how crazy our property taxes are.
Right.
So when they're approving these buyers, they're saying, "Oh, you're approved up to $500,000." Yeah, on a $1,200 tax bill. As soon as you make that tax bill $15,000, that $500,000 approval sinks fast.
Right.
But what I wanted to point out is that what you mentioned was get a mortgage lender that the agents know. I can't tell if you're a buyer and you hear this. I don't care who you use, but you should. And I can't tell you how much who your lender is weighs on a seller's decision on whether or not to accept your offer. You run across that, Sly?
All the time. I can't tell you how many times we have had listing agents call us and say, "Hey, we picked your offer above another offer that was working with an out-of-state lender or an online lender," simply because they know us. We're here in the community. We get our deals done, and they know that we mean business. We're local. We know that all the rules, the regulations. We know the taxes are higher. They know how we do our pre-approvals. We're not just rubber stamping, "You're good to go." Anybody that applies, we literally do the heavy lifting up front. And it's a regular occurrence that listing agents will call us and they will accept offers in part because we are the lender versus an out-of-state lender.
It's even more than that, because that's an exhaustive list of reasons why we would choose to go with paper written from your office, Sly. But I know that no borrower who's making an offer on one of our listings will be stupid enough to go out and buy a car a week before closing if you're the lender.
Right. Yeah, we warned them. Don't do that.
I can't tell you how many times over the course of my 20 years that the buyer, all of a sudden their debt to income ratio changed because they went out and they bought furniture from one of the expensive stores, $10,000 in furniture. That's enough to completely throw off the DTIs.
Right. Absolutely. People do crazy stuff when they're not informed properly. So we are very careful throughout the process to share that information with them. Don't change your job. I've had people literally call me a week before the closing and say, "Hey, I want to quit my job." And I'm like, "Well, wait
Yeah.
a second, buddy. Like, let's not do that right now."
Me too, if you call me and tell me that.
So
Quit the day after closing.
right, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
So anyways, yeah, it's definitely a different experience, working with a good local lender than, the online people that you never get the same person twice. I've had people, literally switch and work with us because every time they called their online lender, they were talking to somebody else. So
The other huge advantage is we know how well you take care of the clients from cradle to grave. We'll call grave closing, cradle to closing. How's that?
yeah,
That's better.
There you go.
Is because there's so much going on in a real estate transaction. That's why it takes so long, right? So much has to be done. Title's got to be worked, the attorney stuff, the inspection, all the paperwork, making sure everything happens. You guys doing all the underwriting, getting everything, all the bank statements, all of this stuff. It can be an overwhelming experience for professionals, let alone lay people who don't do this for a living every day. Your office, and I don't want to sound like I'm just, blowing up your bubble here, but you guys deserve it because your office is like, what's interesting is my quietest deals are when I'm in a transaction where you guys are the lender, because you guys are on the phone with them constantly. You're making sure they're not flustered. You're making sure they're just going along with the process and getting things in time without being stressed or having extra anxiety added to an already stressful situation. You guys are fantastic, and I can't thank you enough for everything you do.
Well, we certainly appreciate that, and it's a team effort, and that's the whole. I have the most amazing people that help behind the scenes that, they just do a great job, and they deeply care about our clients. They're super personable, and we just do a great job, and it's like I said, mostly my team. After I initially kind of set it all up, it goes to our support staff, and they are absolutely amazing. I can't thank them enough.
That's awesome. I have another question for you if you're ready.
Sure.
It's tax season.
Yep.
What advice do you have for buyers who are getting ready? They're gearing up to buy a house. There seems to be some confusion about what makes more sense. Are you supposed to wait until after you file your taxes so you have a good idea of what you made last year? Should they be contacting you first? What is your advice for that?
Sure. So if you're a regular W-2 employee and like a regular salary, it really doesn't make a huge difference. But if you're self-employed and you're getting ready to file those taxes and you plan on purchasing a home anytime this year, we go off of your last 2 years' tax returns.
Anytime this year. Okay.
Correct. So it would behoove you to, at least give the lender or give us an idea of what you're actually going to file, because that's what we go off of. So I don't recommend filing and then sending it to the lender. If you have a rough draft of what you're thinking of filing, we could do our math and kind of figure out the debt to income ratios before you actually file. I guess it's important to make sure you do it on time anyways, but for self-employed borrowers, a lot of times we since we do have to go off of typically a 2-year history, we want to get those in as quick as possible. And we want to know exactly what your income is going to be once you file.
Okay. So we've done a lot of talking about how early in advance you should be doing things. And if you're going to be buying in the next 2 months, you should have already done this. And if you're going to be buying, you need to contact a lender before you do. What do you have to say to people who are listening who are like, oh no, I haven't already done that? What do I do? Are you saying, sayonara, talk to me like next year, your lost cause?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. It's the sooner the better, but doing it is important anytime.
Okay.
Right. So even if you are 2 months out and your lease is up, I wouldn't wait till 30 days out. I
Sure.
would get in as quick as possible. But no, it's definitely never a lost cause. It's always worth it to try. If you are serious about buying anytime in the near future, talk to a good lender. Find someone local that will, sit down with you, and whether it's over the phone, electronically, in person, whatever it is, get with a good lender that is able to look at your information and kind of take it from there.
What I think is cool too is that people don't realize what falls within your scope of practice. I think that a lot of people who have not done this before think that you're just the person who's handling the mortgage and that's it, right? But a lot of what you touched on today is being able to guide them outside of just purchasing this home, right? You're talking about advice with credit building. You're talking about advice with just their financial planning in general for the year. And I think a lot of people don't know that. So I think that's really cool that you got a chance to showcase that today.
Well, I appreciate it. And it's 22 years of doing the same thing. So
Wow.
I think that, it's taken a while for me to learn all these different things and these different aspects. And I genuinely care about our clients. I mean, I want to see them as homeowners. I mean, that's ultimately what we do. So I think
You love
that's it. I love it.
You love it.
I couldn't see myself doing anything else. So
Great. Thank you
do.
very much. I really appreciate it. I know you stayed longer than you had originally anticipated because we had a technical difficulties on our phone call. So, but as
It
you can
worked
tell
out.
that this guy is a trove of information, Sly, can you join us every week?
Sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
That'd
Because-
be great.
Because in the mortgage business, things are moving constantly. They're changing constantly. And the number one thing we want to be a source for the community and people, our listeners, is accurate, up-to-date, expert information.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Great. I appreciate that very much. So today I want to delve into a story. This is going to be a train wreck, I know, but I
gonna
still
be
want to
great.
try it. It's a story that's part mystery, part legend, and entirely Lake County. It's about a figure who's become something of an urban legend around these parts. A ghost, some say. But not just any ghost. This one's got a peculiar passion, one that's left many of our residents bemused, intrigued, and sometimes a little bit inspired. Some call him Gary the Ghost. Others call him Big Government Gary, a spectral presence with an unyielding love for, wait for it, big government and property taxes.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yes, you heard that right. But before you change the dial, let me tell you, Gary's not your typical haunt. No, Gary doesn't rattle chains or whisper threats. He whispers property tax codes and government regulations. Legend has it, Gary was once a man so enamored with the idea of government doing more, providing more, and taxing more that he couldn't bear the thought of leaving this earthly realm without ensuring his beloved Lake County was fully enveloped in the warm, bureaucratic embrace of government oversight. Some say his spirit was so determined that not even a rather ironic run-in with a city bus, yes, a government-operated vehicle, could stop him. Instead of moving on, Gary chose to stay, making it his mission to roam the county, advocating from beyond for more taxes, more government, and, well, more paperwork. But folks, Gary's tale isn't just a ghost story. It's a reminder of our community's diversity in thought, passion, and, dare I say, afterlife ambitions. So in the spirit of open-mindedness, you see what I did there? A community dialogue today, we're doing something a bit different. We're actually going to interview Gary the Ghost, giving him the floor to share his views on Lake County. So without further ado, let's welcome Gary the Ghost.
Hello, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Oh, he's taking his time, isn't he?
Ugh, ghosts.
Told you it's going to be a train wreck.
Could be great.
I don't even know what accent to use yet. So, without further ado, let's welcome Gary to the show. Gary, the legend, the property tax advocate, and ghostly bureaucrat himself. Big Government Gary, welcome. I got to get better on those transitions. Okay. Gary, it's an honor to have you with us. How are you this morning? It's not every day we get to interview a ghost. Can you tell us a bit about your life before becoming a local legend? Well, thank you, Dick. Delighted to be here in spirit, of course. My life was pretty standard. Enjoyed long walks in the beautiful parks, participated in local government, and had a keen interest in property taxes. My transition to the afterlife was rather sudden. I was hit by a bus on my way to file a property tax appeal.
Ironic.
Ironic, isn't it? But wait a second. Why would you be appealing your taxes, Gary? I thought you loved property taxes. Oh, Dick, I was appealing for a higher property tax bill. The beauty of a well-structured property tax, the joy of contributing to the greater good. It's exhilarating. I firmly believed, and still do, that more taxes mean more government. And more government means more solutions to everyday conceivable problems. Well, Gary, that's quite a belief system. Now, as a ghost, how do you pursue this passion for taxes and government? Well, I float around whispering suggestions for new taxes into the ears of our esteemed local officials, and occasionally inspiring dreams of grand government projects in the sleeping residents of Lake County. Did you know that we could use a department of left socks? The disappearance rate is alarming. Wait a second, a department for left socks, Gary? That's oddly specific. What other governmental initiatives have you been advocating from beyond? Well, absolutely, Dick. For instance, a bureau of bedtime stories to ensure all children's tales are governmental approved for optimal moral and civic development. And let's not forget the Committee for Regulation on Breakfast Cereal Crunchiness. Vital work, Dick. Vital work. I'm starting to see a pattern here, Gary. While your ideas are certainly creative, do you ever worry that they might be a tad overreaching? Overreaching, Dick, on the contrary. I'm merely scratching the surface. Imagine government-run dating services to ensure statistically compatible matches, or the nationalization of nap times to optimize rest for productivity. The possibilities are endless and frankly thrilling. Imagine a world where every minutia of life is gently guided by the loving hand of government, from the air you breathe, taxed for purity, of course, to the exact temperature of your morning shower. A world of harmony, uniformity, and endless paperwork. What could be more delightful? Well, Gary, it's been an eye-opening conversation, to say the least. Your passion for government involvement in our daily lives is unmatched. But before you float away, any advice for our listeners on how to prepare for this utopian governmental future? Certainly, Dick. Start small. Practice filling out forms in triplicate for everyday activities, making coffee, choosing what socks to wear, or even deciding what to watch on TV. It's all about embracing the joy of bureaucracy. And remember, every time you grumble about filling a form or paying a tax, think of me and how those actions contribute to a bigger, better, and more regulated society. It's for the greater good, after all. Listeners, that was Big Government Gary, Lake County's own train wreck, an advocate for the future led by government, down to the very last detail. Whatever his ideas have you intrigued or incredulous, we can all agree they've sparked some lively thought. Don't forget to tune in next week for some more unique perspectives and voices from around the county. This is Dick Barr, signing off on this half hour. Join us in a couple of minutes as we come back to finish up the show.
Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr will return in just a few moments after these important messages. Don't touch that dial.
It's time for real estate trivia. What is the fancy French term for a housing area on a dead-end road that offers just about enough space for a car to turn around? The answer after we return.
The Life. 98.3 The Life.
Unlocking Lake County comes from the Sly Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage, specializing in a range of mortgage solutions tailored to meet the needs of homebuyers and homeowners. With a focus on delivering efficient and knowledgeable service, the Sly Marinka team is dedicated to facilitating a smooth mortgage process. Their office is located at 532 Lake Street, Suite A in Antioch, Illinois. They can also be reached at sly@ccm.com or by phone at 847-722-1775.
You're listening to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr.
I'm hurting, baby. I'm broken down. I need your loving, I need it now. When I'm without you, I'm something weak. You got me begging, Sugar, yes please. Won't you come and put it down on me? I'm right here, 'cause I need little love and little sympathy. Yeah, you show me good loving, make it alright. Need a little sweetness in my life. You sugar, yes please. Won't you come and put it down on me? Hey, my broken pieces, you pick them up. Don't leave me hanging, come give me some. When I'm without you, I'm so insecure. You are the one thing I'm living for. I wanna be needing your love, I just wanna be deep in your love. It's killing me when you're away. Oh baby, 'cause I really don't care where you are, I just wanna be there where you are. I gotta give it one little taste. Sugar, yes please. Won't you come and put it down on me? I'm right here, 'cause I need little love and little sympathy. Yeah, you show me good loving, make it alright. Need a little sweetness in my life. Sugar, yes please. Won't you come and put it down on me? Yeah. I want that red velvet, I want that sugar sweet. Don't let nobody touch it unless that somebody's me. I gotta be a man, there ain't no other way. 'Cause girl, you're hotter than a Southern California day. I don't wanna play no games, you don't gotta be afraid. Don't give me all that shy, no makeup on, that's my sugar. Yes please, come and put it down on me. I'm right here, 'cause I need love and little sympathy. So baby, just show me good loving, make it alright. Need a little sweetness in my life. Sugar, yes please. Won't you come and put it down on me? Down on me. Yes please. Come and put it down on me. I need show me good loving, make it alright. Need a little sweetness in my life. Sugar, yes please. Won't you come and put it down on me? Down on me.
Support for Unlocking Lake County comes from the Dick Barr Group at Village Realty, offering both residential and commercial real estate services across northeastern Illinois. Find us at our office located at 1915 East Grand Avenue in Lindenhurst, or visit us online at www.dickbarr.com. For a personal real estate experience, they can also be reached at 847-579-9736. At the Dick Barr Group, your property goals are their mission. And now for today's trivia answer. The term for a mortgage whose interest rate stays the same for the duration of the loan is a fixed rate mortgage.
Welcome back to Unlocking Lake County with your host, Dick Barr.
Thank you for staying tuned to Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. This is Dick Barr, your host, joined by the lovely Kristen Kaufman.
Hello, hello.
And our special guest, Sly Marinka of the Marinka team at Cross Country Mortgage.
Hello, hello.
And last week, Kristen, we did a segment that really turned out to be super popular. The question and answer segment, people really loved it, and they sent in a whole slew of questions.
Flooding in.
They came flooding in, and we got a whole, I don't know, several dozen. But as we learned last week, we only have about 10 minutes for this. So, we'll get to any questions we can. And if you have questions you want to ask and you want us to read them on the air, you can email them to me at db@dickbarr.com. That's db@dickbarr.com. So, Kristen, do you have the list of questions there?
I sure do. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Question number 1. How do you know if a property is a good investment?
If it's not haunted.
Yes, that's a good start.
So that investors are desperate for properties right now. We have contractors and investors who are overpaying for properties. I don't know if you see that. Do you do much investment loans?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a bunch of investors that we work with that are always constantly purchasing and flipping or renting yeah, absolutely.
What's the most number of different mortgages an investor can have?
10 is the current limit on some programs. Some there are no limits on. So
really,
it all depends on the program.
And then what's the typical down payment percentage for an investor?
Typically, so for a single family, it's going to be a minimum of 15% down, but the pricing on the loan when you're only putting 15% down isn't great. So 20-25% is probably most of our investors. And then if it's a multifamily, 2 units or greater, it's going to be about 25% down is what's going to be required as a minimum.
Okay. And will they also do loan money for the rehab?
So there are different loans for that. So we do offer rehab loans, different than just purchasing it and renting it out or you flipping it on your own. So yes, to answer the question, there are rehab loans that investors can do.
Now, I know years ago they came out with that 203K program from FHA. Is that still, does that still get used a lot?
It is still currently available. So the 203K program is not for an investor, though, because you technically have to live in the home as your primary residence under FHA. But yes, absolutely. We do offer 203K loans. And we also have Fannie Mae home style renovation loans, as well as just traditional renovation loans. So there's a slew of products available for people that are looking to purchase a home and renovate it.
I think that's probably one of the best things about the type of business you are, is you have access to just about every program. Right. Whereas, sometimes when a buyer brings a very specific brick and mortar bank name, even a nationally recognized name, they're very limited on the services. If it's not in their cookie cutter, they're not coming to the table.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's the difference between us. That's all we offer is mortgages. We do nothing else. I don't work for a bank. I work for a correspondent mortgage company that we lend our own money, and then we basically will transfer the servicing after closing. But that's all we do. So we have to offer a variety of products to meet our consumers' needs.
It's funny. A lot of times buyers will come and they say, hey, I've got this big name major bank, and they think that's actually a benefit. And from our perspective, we don't like seeing those big names all the time. And again, I'm not going to mention any names, but and I'm not even going to give rhymes this time.
No.
A lot of the bigger banks, again, their underwriting is held offsite in a different state. They don't understand. And one of the biggest challenges that we see is their underwriting department. They find the first mistake in a loan, and then they kick it out for questions. And then the loan officer and the agent and then the borrower work to get that answered. They give it back. Then it goes back into the bottom of the pile. And then that could be as long as a week to 10 days before the underwriter gets to the file again. And then they find the second question. And then the process starts again. How does your underwriting work?
Yeah, definitely not like that. And I have worked at a big national bank before, and I can personally attest that that's how it's done. Is it gets moved to the bottom of the pile, and you're waiting 3 days before they review it. We do not operate that way. That's a very stressful experience for the loan officer, the client, the realtor, the attorney, everyone involved when it's done that way. So our underwriting, we have a dedicated underwriter that underwrites most of our loans. So I have her cell phone number. I can contact her at any time. In fact, I talk to her almost every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. If I have a scenario that I'm not sure on, I can call her and run it by her. If I have income that isn't normally what we see, I could send it to her and have her look at it before we ever even take the formal loan application. So our underwriting is not that way. We are customer service centric. All we care about is getting the customer, from point A to point B, and that's from pre-approval to closing with as little hassle as possible.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you for that.
And just to add to that really quick, sorry. So one of the takeaways that I get from that is I understand the appeal of wanting to go to a familiar name. And I think this is going to be true kind of across the board, even outside of the scope of real estate. But really, you're doing yourself a little bit of a disservice anytime that you choose to work with someone when you're putting yourself in a position to be just another transaction. Whether that be shopping at a big box store, where you're calling an 800 number for customer service, as opposed to a small business where they are personally handling your problem, down to real estate, right? So calling some big bank isn't necessarily going to give you the outcome that you're hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I personally have experienced that. So yeah, we deeply care about our clients. All we do is mortgages. So I can't sell you a checking account, a savings account, a CD, an IRA, none of that.
Mhm.
So if we're not
Perfect.
closing loans, we're going out of business.
Perfect. Kristen, let's go on to the next one.
Next question. Can I buy a home with a 0 down payment?
Absolutely. It happens all the time in Monopoly. For the rest of us, there's not as many programs available. If you've VA loans, 100% can do 100% financing. But Sly, you're the in-house mortgage expert. What kind of 100% loans are happening today besides VA?
So very few. VA is really the main one, but you have to qualify for that. You have to be able to qualify for a VA loan, which is a Veterans Administration loan. Besides that, we do have some pretty good down payment assistance programs that offer significant funds for down payment. We talked about one earlier, but there are other programs that offer more, but there are going to be strings attached. And those strings attached might look like you got to pay the money back that they give you for the down
How
payment.
dare them?
Yeah, right. So you definitely need to talk to a good lender to come up with a plan, because those programs are also hard to qualify for. There's income limitations, credit limitations, debt to income ratio limitations. So you definitely want to get all of that squared away before you think you're going to buy a house with no money down.
Right. And a lot of times those loans look good on their face. And but us people who've been in the business for quite some time know that if a loan's going to fall apart, it's more likely to be coming from a 100% loan, not VA, different product, but on kind of a one-off 100% finance loan. When deals die, chances are they're either bank statement loans or 100% finance loans. Okay, we got time for maybe 2 more questions, Kristen.
Okay. The next one, I feel like someone maybe was trolling us when they asked us this question, because I know what I would say. Should I sell my house by myself, or should I use a real estate agent?
I mean, going solo, selling your home is a great option if you speak fluent legalese, and have a penchant for staying up till 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night doing paperwork and negotiations.
Absolutely.
But the reality is, yes, selling a home it's not that it's difficult. It's just that there's a million different variables, and the benefit of using an agent is working with someone who's experienced thousands of wrenches thrown in the spokes. Someone who knows how to pick up what's being thrown and turn it to your best benefit. Also, someone who has the knowledge to be able to answer the questions about what could possibly go wrong. Because there's one thing I learned in this business is that anything and everything can and will go wrong.
Usually all at once.
Right. So it is a good idea to have representation along the way, not only because chances are you're going to negotiate a better deal. If you look at our numbers, Kristen, we beat the average market of realtors, professionals, by about 3% on sales price when we're listing the property. And when we're representing the buyer, we're buying on the lower percentages. So we're actually getting cheaper purchases. And that's because we have the network of, just like with you, Sly, when people see Sly's name on a loan approval, they know that means something. And when we're representing buyers, when other agents see, well, this person does a lot of business, we know them, they're in the community, it creates conversations and opportunities for our clients that wouldn't necessarily exist, especially if you're doing it on your own.
Absolutely.
Okay, why don't we go, Wemby, one more we got time for.
Okay. How often do home listings come with a free car?
That was one of the questions.
It sure is.
Okay. Well, they come with free cars as often as they come with free unicorns. Which I haven't seen gimmicks in a long time. In fact, you don't really need to give away anything to sell a house right now.
No.
But buyers are throwing it all against the wall, hoping it sticks.
Yeah.
We're seeing offers with appraisal gap guarantees. This is a new phenomenon in the past 3 years, where even if the appraise is lower, buyers are coming cash out of pocket to get that deal done. They are waiving inspections sometimes, buying it as is.
Escalation clauses.
I hate escalation clauses. Yeah, they are doing it, but I'll be honest. I don't know if I want to say this because this is one of my negotiation tactics. I don't want to necessarily give it up, but I don't mind. I will. Yeah. Sometimes when we get an escalation clause, so if I'm representing the seller and a buyer says, we'll offer you 300,000 or up to 400,000 if someone else bids higher. So basically, they'll say, we'll do 1,000 more than any other bid up to 400,000. I tell my sellers, well, that buyer just told us how much he's willing to pay. So 9 times out of 10, when we have the leverage, we're going to counter at 400,000. We know that's what you're willing to pay. So we're going to counter it. Does it always work? No, but it does work sometimes, and it's worth the try.
As a buyer, it does strengthen your offer a bit.
Does it strengthen your offer? Wouldn't I rather work with someone if I'm the seller and I have options? If you're only going to beat the other guy by 1,000, but the other guy went all the way to his max, and you played a game trying to get to your max, I see a lot of sellers punishing the buyers with the escalation clauses. And, I'd be interested. I'd like to have that question asked amongst a lot of different brokers to see what their experiences are.
Sure.
But I have a lot of times sellers will say, well, that's a game. So yeah, I'm getting $1,000 more, but really who cares about that 1,000? You'll probably take it away from me in the inspection negotiation anyway. That's another thing people do. They'll do as is. And then the inspections come in and like, we want you to fix this. Well, no. Well, no, we won't. That's what as is means.
Right.
Anyway, we are out of time on that segment. So I really want to, I know you've got some really good news stories to talk about, Kristen. So I'm going to pass it over to you for Kristen Kaufman with the news.
Absolutely. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is actually a local event that I'm so excited to be attending. This Saturday, February 24th, come out to the Lake County Fairgrounds to check out the Lake County Craft Beer Festival from 5 to 9 p.m. I'm so excited about this. There's going to be tons of local craft beer breweries that are showcasing their best stuff, wineries, spirits, food vendors. There's also going to be an axe throwing area and also an escape room. I thought that was me for a second. I was really confused.
It sounded like it.
Yeah, so there's also going to be an escape room there. I wonder, I didn't see any information. I wonder if it's 60 to Escape that has anything to do with that.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
It would be. It's my favorite escape room. It's in the Gurney Mall. It's awesome. If you haven't been, you got to go check it out. Each year has a specific theme, and this year's theme is Beach Bash. So bikinis are probably welcome, especially with this weather.
Oh, yeah.
General admission is going to be $50 today only. After today, it is going to go up to $60. So if you're interested, act today. It's going to include, did I say the price already? If I didn't, it's $50 a person. It'll be $60 after today, including access to from 5 to 9 p.m. You're going to get a souvenir sampling glass and 25 beverage samples. So you're going to be sampling a bunch of different delicious craft beers. It's going to give you access to entertainment, including the escape room and the axe throwing, presented by Uline. It's also going to have a giant beer pong table. There's going to be cornhole or bags if you're from Illinois. So there's also going to be a Beach Bash costume contest and more. There's also going to be, and I think this is really cool as someone who has worked in the bar industry and in a past life. There's also going to be a designated driver rate as well. So that's going to be $10 a person. And that's still going to get you access to all of the entertainment without all of the drinking. So thank you to those of you who are going to be showing up as a designated driver. It's an important role you're going to be playing. While you're there, make sure that you check out my favorite brewery, Harbor Brewing Company. They're located locally in Lake Villa, and they will be showing you the best of their best. If it's available for tasting, you got to check out their cinnamon roll ale. It's unlike anything I've ever tasted. It's phenomenal. Can't wait to be there. Dick, you going to be going?
No.
No.
I don't like craft beer. Not a beer drinker.
What?
Yeah, I like bourbons and vodkas.
Okay. There's going to be spirits there, though, so maybe. All right. The next thing that I would like to talk about, and Dick, I'd love to hear your input on this as well, is the Chicago mansion tax. Ooh, Sly, have you heard of it? Oh, we're
over
wincing.
$1 million. They're going to increase the for all sales over $1 million, right?
It is. So it is a tiered taxing system that applies to both commercial and residential properties. The tax will increase from $3.75 to $10 per $500 of the transfer price for the portion of the sale between $1 million and $1.5 million. The levy will increase to $15 per $500 of the transfer price for any part above $1.5 million. The tax will also reduce transfers of under $1 million by 20%, but increase transfers of over $1 million by 166%, and transfers of $1.5 million or more by 300%.
It's crazy. Chicago already has some of the highest transfer taxes in the state. When they say they're raising it from 3 to 10, it's already 10, but the seller portion's 3. The buyer pays 7 of that. So they're getting an incredible amount of money. I think that's going to be good for our business here in Lake County.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Oh, they're basically going to be sending. So some people are referring to this as the millionaire's tax. And I'm sorry, but you don't need to be a millionaire to own $1 million house.
No, not at all.
A lot of people own, $1 million houses, and they're not millionaires. Because most people have mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to hit, because if you think about some of the housing in Lincoln Park or even Humboldt Park or River North areas where you get $1 million condos, not that big of a deal down there. To put this level of tax on, they're going to be chasing away buyers to the suburbs. I'm sorry.
Come to Lake County.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this
Come
is
out.
actually good for us, I think.
Yeah. So the
Hold on, Sly. How much approximately, and not a specific case, how much do you have to make to be able to buy $1 million house?
To be able to buy $1 million house, assuming 20% down, is an $800,000 loan. So a rough payment, $7,000. You could probably get away with making about $175,000 a year or so.
So
qualify
$175,000
for that type of loan.
How many of our listeners making $775,000 who aren't millionaires? I bet you there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, especially if it's combined income.
Right?
Two wage earners. I work with a lot of families that could afford that. Not that they want to.
Yeah.
Right.
So, hey, so a message to Mayor Johnson: keep sending the buyers our way.
We'll
We
take
love them
them.
here in
We'll take them.
Lake County.
To be fair, though, so it's not just for nothing. I know that the money that is expected to be gained from that is supposed to be the proceeds of the tax are supposed to be going towards affordable housing projects, tenant protections, and homelessness prevention efforts, which of course are important.
Speaking of affordable housing, Lake County is probably one of the most affordable housing providers in the state.
Really?
So if anyone's looking for affordable housing, come on up. We got plenty of product for you.
Absolutely.
Anything else there, Kristen?
Just mentioning that that is going to be the mansion tax referendum is going to be on the 2024 primary ballot, which is reminding me to remind all of our listeners that our early voting has started. So go out there and vote.
Yeah, and speaking of early voting and speaking of referendum, there's a couple of referendums coming to our area. I know the Round Lake area libraries going to referendum. They're,
yes,
I think, trying to raise, $35 million bond for the building of a new library. And I believe also District 127, Grays Lake School District, I think they're going for referendum for a bond. I don't know the details of it. And I think District 46 in Grace Lake is also going for a referendum.
They are, yes.
I think a lot of these governing bodies are going to realize that this is a bad year. This is we're in the wake of the quadrennial tax reassessment, where all of the taxes will be reassessed based on current values of homes. People are in for some big surprises. I've heard of stories where people had 100, 120, 150% increases in their property tax portions. I think any government agency who's looking to get more from the taxpayers right now, I think they're going to be in for a kind of a rough no.
You think so?
I do. And let's be honest, everyone loves libraries, right? Everyone loves schools.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
But how much can we keep paying? Already the average tax bill in, the area is about between $8,000 and $10,000, almost $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
If you live where Sly does, they're paying $12,000 to $15,000 up there. It's crazy.
Yeah, Antioch is brutal on taxes for sure.
Which is weird because all you got to do is take 2 steps and you're you're in Wisconsin,
Right.
And that could be why Antioch has so many houses still on the market. 35 houses still on the market with a 57-day market time.
Is it that much cheaper across the border?
No, it used to be.
I didn't think so. Yeah, every time I hear that, I feel like that goes on the list of myths that we're talking about, because anytime I've looked into it, I haven't seen that much of a difference.
Yeah, it seems like their taxes might be a little bit cheaper, but the price of the home is that much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's better to pay more for the home and less in tax, because eventually you pay that house off.
Sure.
The tax never goes away. It only goes up.
Yeah.
Especially if Gary has anything to say about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good old Gary.
That's great. Hey, everyone, thank you again for joining us
Thanks so
on
much for listening.
This week's Unlocking Lake County. Join us next week where, we might put Gary to bed before then, but who knows? Maybe he'll be back. We'll see. Thanks, everyone, and have a great week.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the heart of our community, exploring the ins and outs of real estate and meeting the people who make Lake County truly remarkable. Remember, every property has a story, and every community member holds a key to unlocking our county's full potential. Don't miss out on discovering more hidden gems and expert insights. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon for another episode of Unlocking Lake County with Dick Barr. Until then, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep unlocking the possibilities that await you in Lake County. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.
Thank you.